friends, myself Rajeshwari. Today we will study about Enterobacteriaceae. Here we'll study about classification, Escherichia coli or in short E. coli. Under this we'll study about morphology, culture, biochemical reactions, antigenic structure, antigenic typing, resistance, toxins, pathogenesis, laboratory diagnosis, and then we'll study about Edwardsella. Then we'll study about Citrobacter, then Klebsiella. Under Klebsiella, we'll study about classification, morphology, culture, biochemical reactions, antigenic structure, methods of typing, pathogenesis, laboratory diagnosis, and treatment. Then we'll study about Enterobacter. Then we'll study about Hafnia, then Serratia. Then we'll study about Proteus, Morganilla and Providencia. Under this, we'll study about this classification, Proteus, Morganilla and Providencia, and next we'll study about laboratory diagnosis of Morganilla and Providencia. So, let's begin. Members of the family Enterobacteriaceae are anaerobic and facultative anaerobic gram-negative enteric bacilli. They are motile by peritrichous flagella or are non-motile. They grow readily on ordinary media. Ferment glucose with production of acid or acid and gas reduce nitrates to nitrates, oxidase negative and catalase positive except SH, Shigella dysenteria type 1, which is catalase negative. They are non-capsulated and non-sporing. Their nature habitat is usually the intestinal tract of man and animals. Some species are commensals and some are pathogenic for humans. Now come to classification. Let's know about the classification. The classification of Enterobacteriaceae has been controversial. There has been successive changes in the nomenclature. The oldest method was to classify these bacteria on the basis of their action on lactose. That is, lactose fermenters, late lactose fermenters and non-lactose fermenters. The lactose fermenting property is observed on a medium McConkey agar containing lactose and neutral, red. The organisms fermenting lactose form acid and in acidic pH neutral and neutral red, that is neutral red indicator becomes red in color. Therefore, the bacterial colonies are red or pink and those of non-lactose fermenting bacteria are pale. The major intestinal pathogen are non-lactose fermenters. The majority of the commensal intestinal bacilli are lactose fermenting and most common member is the colon bacillus or Escherichia coli. All lactose fermenting enteric bacilli, that is Escherichia, Klebsiella, Enterobacter and Citrobacter were called coliform bacilli. The heterogeneous group of late lactose fermenters was called paracolon bacilli. Although classification based on lactose fermentation is not acceptable, yet this had a practical value in diagnostic bacteriology to differentiate members of Enterobacteriaceae. Three widely used classification of Enterobacteriaceae, that is Borges Manuel, Kaufman's Edward Ewing, have certain differences but the basic approach is the same. The family is first classified into group or tribe. Each tribe consists of one or more genera and each genus has one or more subgenera and species. Now, let's know about the E. coli. First is E. coli. We'll study about E. coli. That is Escherichia coli. The genus name is the name after Escherichia, who first isolated the bacillus under the name Bacterium coli commune in 1885. Escherichia coli is the type of species of the genus Escherichia. Unlike other coliforms, Escherichia coli is a parasite inhabiting only in the human or animal intestine. Now come to morphology. E. coli is a gram-negative bacillus measuring 1 to 3 micrometer into 0.4 to 0.7 micrometer. Most strains are motile by peritrichate flagella. It is non-sporing and non-capsulated. Let's know about the culture. It is an aerobe and facultative anaerobe and grows on ordinary culture medium at the optimum temperature of 37 degrees centigrade and 18 to 18 to 24 hours. Colonies of some strains show beta hemolysis on blood agar. On McConkey's medium, colonies are pink due to lactose fermentation. In general, colonies are circular, moist, smooth with entire margin and non-mucoid, unlike colonies of Klebsiella which are mucoid. In liquid medium, growth occurs as uniform turbidity. Now let's know about biochemical reactions. They ferment most of the sugars, that is glucose, lactose, mannitol, maltose, with production of acid and gas. Typical strains do not ferment sucrose. On McConkey's medium, colonies are pink due to lactose fermentation. In general, colonies are circular, moist, smooth with entire margin and non-mucoid, unlike colonies of Klebsiella which are mucoid. In liquid medium, growth occurs as uniform turbidity. Now let's know about biochemical reactions. They ferment most of the sugars, glucose, lactose, mannitol, maltose, with production of acid and gas. Typical strains do not ferment sucrose. Indole and methyl red, in short MR reaction, are positive, but Voges, Proscour, in short VP, and citrate utilization test are negative. Urea is not split, gelatin is not liquefied, H2S is not formed, and growth does not occur in casein medium. The important biochemical reactions are: first is glucose, lactose, mannitol, sucrose, Ag plus sucrose minus, indole, that is plus, urease minus, citrate minus, Mr plus, Vp minus. Now let's know about antigenic structure. Serotyping of E. coli is based on the presence of O, that is somatic antigen, K capsular antigen, and H, that is flagellar antigen. Antigens detected by agglutination reactions. Another antigen present is F, that is fimbrial antigen. Now let's know about somatic antigen, that is O antigen. These are heat stable lipopolysaccharide antigens of cell wall, and 173 oxygen antigens have been described which are designated as 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. For O agglutination, the cultures should be boiled to overcome in agglutinability caused by K antigens. Numerous cross reactions occur between individual Escherichia coli O antigens, and between these and O antigens of other genera of family Enterobacteriaceae. Cytobacter, Citrobacter, Salmonella, Shigella, and Yersinia. The normal colon strains of E. coli belong to early O groups, that is 1, 2, 3, etc., and the enteropathogenic strains belong to the latter group, that is 26, 55, 86, 111, etc. Now let's know about capsular antigen, that is K antigen. This term was used collectively for the surface or capsular antigens that cause O inagglutinability. These capsular structures are not demonstrable by light microscopy. Thus, K antigens were previously divided into three classes as L, A, and B on the basis of first point is effect of heat on agglutinability. Second point is antigenicity. Third point is antibody binding power of bacterial strains carrying them. Only one K antigen, that is L, A, or B, is present in any one strain. L antigen. First of all, we will know about L antigen. It is thermolabile and its capacity to combine with specific antibody is lost. Then second is A antigen. It is thermostable and is usually associated with well-marked capsule. Third is B antigen. It is heat labile but antibody binding power remains unaffected. In the modern usage, the term K antigen refers to the acidic polysaccharide capsular antigens. 103 K antigens of Escherichia coli. Now we discussed. K antigen is now divided into two groups, 1 and 2. Group 1 and 2 antigens correspond to old A and L antigens. Now let's know about the role of K antigens. They cause O inagglutinability by homologous antisera. Second point is K antigens act as virulence factor by protecting bacilli from the killing action of antibody and complement and also by impeding phagocytosis. Most strains of intestinal Escherichia coli do not possess K antigens. Of the strains possessing these antigens, most are of L type. Now let's know about flagellar antigen, H antigen. These are thermolabile and 75 H antigens have been described. All of them are monophagic. For H antigen determination, the organisms have to be grown in semi-solid agar. There are very few cross reactions between H antigen of E. coli and those of other members belonging to the family Enterobacteriaceae. Now let's know about fimbrial antigen. F antigen. In short, F antigen. These are thermolabile proteins and hitting the organisms at 100 degrees centigrade, leading to detachment of fimbriae. The F antigen has no role in antigenic classification of E. coli. E. coli possesses common fimbriae or pili, which are chromosomally determined, and sex pili, which are determined by conjugative plasmids and appear to be organ of conjugation. Type 1 fimbriae mediate adhesion of bacterium to cells that contain mannose residue. Such adhesion enhances bacterial pathogenicity. Example type 1 fimbriae and its possible role in urinary tract infection. Several fibrin structures resembling fimbriae are described in E. coli. These cause a mannose-resistant hemagglutination. These structures probably play a significant role in the pathogenesis of diarrheal disease and in urinary tract infection. These include K88, K99 and colonization factor antigens. In short, CFAS. They are plasmid determined. K88 causes enteritis of piglets and K99 produces diarrhea in calves and lambs. CFAs are detected in some enterotoxigenic strains of E. coli that cause human diarrhea. Till now, 4 CFAs designated as CFA1, CFA2, CFA3, CFA4 have been described. They can be detected by serological test and with specific antisera. Now let's know about antigenic typing. On the basis of O antigen, Escherichia coli has been subdivided into a number of O groups. Each O group is then divided into subgroups on the basis of K antigens. Each of these subgroups include strains with different H antigens. Thus, the antigenic pattern of strain is recorded as the number of the particular antigen it carries. As for example, 0111 is to K58 is to 812 H12. K58 is to 812 H12. Now let's know about resistance. E. coli is excreted in feces of humans and animals and contaminates soil and water. It is killed by moist heat at 60 degrees centigrade, usually within 30 minutes. It can be killed by 0.5 to 1 part per million chlorine in water. It can survive for several days in soil, water, dust and air. Now let's know about toxins. Some strains of E. coli produce enterotoxins, hemolysin and verocytotoxins. Enterotoxins, let's know about enterotoxins. Enterotoxigenic strains of E. coli produce one or both of two enterotoxins, a heat-labile toxin and a heat stable toxin. Production of both LT and ST is plasmid ENT plasmid mediated. Now let's know about heat labile toxin. In short, LT. It is a heat labile protein and closely resembles enterotoxin produced by V. cholerae. LT is composed of one enzymatically active polypeptide A subunit and 5 identical B subunits. The B subunits bind to the GM1 ganglioside receptor at the broad border of epithelial cells of small intestine and facilitates the entry of subunit A. The subunit A is activated to yield two fragments A1 and A2. The A1 fragment activates adenyl cyclase in the enterocyte. The activation of adenyl cyclase converts adenosine triphosphate to cyclic adenosine 5' monophosphate, in short CAMP. The marked increase of CAMP results in intense and prolonged hypersecretion of water and chlorine and chlorides and inhibits the reabsorption of sodium. The intestinal lumen is distended with fluid and hypermotility leads to profuse water diarrhea. Occasional strain of E. coli produce two types of LT, that is LT1 and LT2. LT2 has similar biological action as LT1 but does not react with LT1 antiserum. Now let's know about heat stable toxin, in short ST. In contrast to LT and ST, it is a lower molecular weight polypeptide and poorly immunogenic. Two types of ST are known, that is ST1 and ST2. We can say also STA and or STB. ST1 stimulates fluid secretion in the gut through the mediation of cyclic guanosine monophosphate, in short CGMP. The mode of action of ST2 is not known. ST acts more rapidly than LT. ST2 cannot be detected by ligated rabbit ileal loop test or infant mouse gastric test. However, these tests are useful in detection of ST1. Poorly immunogenic nature of ST initially prevented the development of immunological assays. This problem has been overcome by preparing antiserum from toxin coupled to a haptin. Subsequently, ELISA with ST monoclonal antibodies specific for ST have become available. Now let's know about hemolysin. Some strains of E. coli produce a hemolysin which can lyse erythrocytes of some species. A larger portion of E. coli recovered from extraintestinal lesions of man are hemolytic than those isolated from fishes. Now let's know about verocytotoxin, in short VT. It is also called SIGA-like toxin, in short SLT. Biological, physical and antigenic properties of VT are similar to SIGA toxin produced by S. dysentery type 1. It is of two types, VT1 which is neutralized by antiserum to SIGA toxin and VT2 that resists neutralization by this antiserum. There are cytotoxic to Vero and HeLa cells. Enterotoxic is in rabbit ileal loop and show paralytic lethality in mouse. VT is also composed of A and B subunits. VT production is found to be phase encoded in several E. coli strains. Besides VT1 and VT2, there is another toxin named VT2V, which is human and porcine variants. VT2V toxin differs from VT1 and VT2 in that it is not cytotoxic to HeLa cells and is not phase encoded. Now let's know about pathogenesis. E. coli forms a part of normal intestinal flora of man and animal. There are four major types of clinical syndromes which are caused by E. coli. First point is urinary tract infection, second is diarrhea, third is pyogenic infections, and fourth is septicemia. Now let's know about urinary tract infection. E. coli is the commonest organism responsible for urinary tract infection, in short UTI. Most frequent O serotypes of E. coli causing UTI include 01, 02, 04, 06, 07, 018 and 075. There are also named as these are also named as nephrogenic strain, species nephropathogenic potential of these strains appears to be due to some factors. Let's know about these factors. First is polysaccharides of O and K antigens protect the organism from the bactericidal effects of complement and phagocytes. Strains possessing K1 or K5 antigen appear to be more virulent. Fimbriae mediate the adherence of the organism to uroepithelial cells. The receptor to which it attaches is believed to be part of the P blood group antigen and therefore it is termed as P. fimbriae. Now, E. coli that causes UTI often originates in the intestine of the patient. Route of infection to reach urinary tract is either the ascending route or the hematogenous route. The ascending route is through fecal flora spreading to the perineum and from there they ascend into the bladder. The other commonly encountered bacteria in UTI are Klebsiella, Proteus, Citrobacter, and those which rarely produce UTI are Salmonella, Edwardsella, and Enterobacter. The gram-positive organisms that can cause UTI include Staphylococcus aureus, Coagulase negative Staphylococcus facilis, Streptococcus pyogenes, Streptococcus milleri, Streptococcus agalactidae, other streptococci and anaerobic streptococci. Rarely, Gardnerella rela vaginalis may cause UTI. Among fungal causes, Candida albicans may cause UTI in immunocompromised patients. The hospital-associated infection following instrumentation, catheterization, and other procedures is mostly caused by Pseudomonas and Proteus. Now, let's know about diarrhea. E. coli causing diarrheal diseases are of 5 groups. They produce diarrhea with different pathogenic mechanisms. Now, let's know about enteropathogenic E. coli, in short EPEC. They cause enteritis in infants, especially in tropical countries. In past, several serious institutional outbreaks of diarrhea had occurred in babies less than 18 months old. EPEC adhere tightly to enterocytes, leading to inflammatory reactions and epithelial degenerative changes. Common serogroups of EPEC are 026, 055, 086, 011, 0114, 0119, 0125, 0126, 0127, 0128, and 0142. Enterotoxigenic E. coli. Let's know about enterotoxigenic E. coli. These are the strains that form a heat-labile enterotoxin or a heat-stable enterotoxin or both. They are now known to be a major cause of diarrhea in children in developing countries and are the most important cause of travelers' diarrhea. The name traveler's diarrhea refers to the diarrhea in persons from the developed countries within a few days of their visit to one of the developing countries. ETEC sometimes causes a diarrhea similar to that produced by Vibrio cholerae. ETEC also possesses colonization factors which promote their virulence by adhering the organisms to the epithelium of the small intestine. These colonization factors may be pili or special type of protein K antigens. Most strains of ETEC belong to the serogroups, that is 06, 08, 015, 025, 027, 063, 078, 0115, 0148, 0153, 0159, and 0167. The identification of ETEC strains only depends on the demonstration of toxins. The methods available for the detection of the toxin are different. There is no biochemical markers available to differentiate ETEC strains from other E. coli. In ELISA test, plates are coated with ganglioside GM1, which is used to capture LT if present in the specimen. This bound LT is detected by adding toxin specific rabbit antibodies. Now let's know about Beacon's test. It is a precipitin test to detect LT directly on bacterial colonies. Bacteria are grown on a special agar medium containing rabbit antibodies specific for LT. As bacteria grow and secrete LT, this toxin binds to the anti-LT antibodies to form a precipitin line. Enteroinvasive E. coli. EIEC. Some strains of E. coli invade the intestinal epithelial cells, as do dysentery bacilli, and produce disease identical to Shigella dysentery. These have been named enteroinvasive E. coli. They belong to serogroup 028, 0112, 0124, 0136, 0143, 0144, 0152, and 0164. On instillation into the eye of guinea pigs, EIEC caused keratoconjunctivitis. This diagnostic test for EIEC is called Sereni test. Another diagnostic method is the invasive of HeLa or HEP2 cells in tissue culture. This ability to penetrate cells is determined by a large plasmid. The plasmid codes for outer membrane antigens called the virulence marker antigens, in short VMA, which can be detected by ELISA test. EIEC strains are often atypical in biochemical reactions, such as these may be late lactose fermenter or non-lactose fermenter and anaerogenic. These also resemble antigenically to Shigella. Because of their biochemical and antigenic similarity to Shigella, many EIEC outbreaks have been mistaken for Shigellosis. Now let's know about enterohemorrhagic E. coli, or we can say verocytotoxin producing E. coli, in short VTEC. These strains cause hemorrhagic colitis, in short HC, and hemolytic uremic syndrome, in short HUS. It is most common in infants and young children but can occur in all ages. It is characterized by marked hemorrhage, but fever is not always present. Toxin responsible is called virotoxin. Because of its effect on virocells in culture, these strains belong to serogroup 0157. Now let's know about enteroaggregative E. coli, in short EAEC. These strains are so named because they appear aggregated in a stacked brick formation on Hep2 cells or glass. Most of the strains are O-untypable, but many are H-typable. They form a heat-stable enterotoxin called enteroaggregative heat-stable enterotoxin 1, in short EAST1. Now let's know about pyogenic infections. Escherichia coli may cause wound infection, peritonitis, cholecystitis, and neonatal meningitis. It is an important cause of neonatal meningitis. Now let's know about septicemia. E. coli is a very common cause of septicemia in many hospitals and leads to fever, hypertension, and disseminated intravascular coagulation. This condition usually occurs in debilitated patients and mortality is very high. Now let's know about specimen collection. Midstream, midstream urine specimen. Midstream urine specimen. It is collected preferably prior to administration of antibiotics. Specimen is collected in a sterile container. Before collecting a sample, genitalia should be cleaned with soap and water, and men are instructed to retract the foreskin of glans, penis, whereas women should keep the labia part apart. The first portion of urine is allowed to pass, then without interrupting the urine flow, mid portion of the stream is collected. The first portion of urine adequately flushes out the normal urethral flora. Now let's know about catheter specimen. Urine should be collected directly from the catheter and not from the collection bag. The catheter should not touch the container. Although a catheter specimen yields excellent results, but catheterization to obtain urine is not justified because of risk of introducing infection. Now let's know about urine specimens of infants. A clean catch specimen after cleansing of genitalia is preferred. Another procedure of collecting specimen in infants is by suprapubic aspiration. Now let's know about transport. As urine is a good culture medium, specimens after collection should reach the laboratory with minimum delay. If it is not possible, the specimen is to be refrigerated at 4 degrees centigrade. Now let's know about laboratory methods. Part of the specimen is used for bacteriological culture and the rest is examined immediately under the microscope. Now let's know about microscopy. Urine is centrifuged and deposit is examined under the microscope for the detecting pus cells, erythrocytes, epithelial cells and bacteria. Now let's know about culture. Most laboratories use a quantitative method for culture of urine specimens. Now let's know about standard loop technique. A standard calibrated loop is used to culture a fixed volume of uncentrifuged urine. Blood agar and McConkey's agar are used and incubated at 37 degrees centigrade for 24 hours. Next day, the number of colonies grown is counted and total count for ml is calculated. The blood agar gives a quantitative measurement of bacteriuria, while McConkey's medium enables the presumptive diagnosis of the bacterium. Now let's know about interpretation of results. Cass in 1956 gave a criterion for active bacterial infection of urinary tract. Let's know about the points. First is significant bacteriuria. When bacterial count is more than 10 to the power 5 per ml of a single species, and then is doubtful significance, that is between 10 to the power 4 to 10 to the power 5 bacteria per ml. Specimens should be repeated for culture. No significant growth, that means less than 10 to the power 3 bacteria per ml and are regarded as contaminant. Now let's know about identification. The organisms are identified by colony characters, gram staining, motility, biochemical reactions and slide agglutination test. Now let's know about antibiotic sensitivity test. E. coli and other common urinary pathogens develop multiple drug resistance and of the transferable variety. Antibiotic sensitivity is necessary to administer proper antibiotics. Now let's know about the other methods of diagnosis urinary tract infection. Several screening methods have been introduced, and these are now we will discuss. First is diarrhea. Laboratory diagnosis of E. coli diarrhea has been complex as there is no single test which can identify all strains of E. coli responsible for diarrhea. Feces or rectal swab is plated directly on blood, agar, and McConkie medium. After overnight incubation, growth on culture media is identified by colony morphology, gram staining, motility, and biochemical reactions. E. coli colonies are emulsified in saline on a slide and tested by agglutination with polyvalent and monovalent antisera against enteropathogenic serotypes. Feces or rectal swab is plated directly on blood, agar, and McConkey's medium. After overnight incubation, growth on culture media is identified by colony morphology, gram staining, motility, and biochemical reactions. E. coli colonies are emulsified in saline on a slide and tested by agglutination with polyvalent and monovalent OB antisera against enteropathogenic serotypes. It is essential to test at least 10 isolated colonies by agglutination, as more than one serogroups may be present in fecal plates. Special indicator media may be employed for specific serotypes with distinctive properties. A modified McConkey's medium in which sorbitol is incorporated instead of lactose has been employed for detection of serotype, that is 055 B5 011 is to B4, as these do not ferment sorbitol unlike most other E. coli strains. The identification of ETEC depends on demonstration of LT and ST. The test for detection of toxins we now discussed. BTEC can be detected by its cytotoxic effect on Vero and HeLa cells. Enterotoxin effects in rabbit ileal loop and its lethality in mouse. It can also be detected by DNA probes for the genes encoding VT1 and VT2. PCR with VT specific primers has also been used to detect VTEC. The demonstration of EIEC is more difficult. It can be detected by Serini test, simpler test using HeLa cells or HEP2 cells have now been standardized. Monolayers of these cells are exposed to suspension of organisms. After an appropriate infection period, the cells are examined microscopically for the presence of intracellular organisms. EAEC can be detected on HEP2 cells which are exposed to E. coli strains and allowed to adhere to these cell monolayers in vitro. The pattern of adhesion is observed by microscopy of these exposed cells. An aggregative adhesion gene probe has also been used as a rapid means of screening these strains. Now let's know about pyogenic infections. The specimens are usually pus and wound swab. Cultures are made on McConkey's agar and the isolate is identified by colony morphology, staining, motility, and biochemical reactions. Now let's know about septicemia. Diagnosis depends on the isolation of the organism by blood culture and its identification by colony morphology, staining, motility, and biochemical reactions. Now let's know about alkali sense disperse group. A group of non-motile bacilli associated with dysentery were called the alkalisens. dispar group, in short AD group. They were believed to be related to Shigella. These are lactose fermenting but are indel positive. Antigens of AD group appears to be identical with those of E. coli. The AD group is now considered as non-motile anaerogenic E. coli (EIEC). Now let's know about Edwardsella. Genus Edwardsella is separated from E. coli Escherichia, but its ability to produce hydrogen sulfide is E. tarda is the only species of the genus, and the term tarda refers to slow or weak fermentation of sugars by this bacteria. It is a motile gram-negative bacillus, non-capsulated, and ferments only glucose and maltose. It forms indole and H2S, utilizes citrate and decarboxylates, lysine and ornithine. E. tarda is normal intestinal inhabitant of cold-blooded animals. It has been recovered occasionally from the feces of healthy persons. It is an occasional cause of wound infection in human being. However, its role in causation of diarrhea, meningitis has yet to be established. Now let's know about Cytobacter. These motile gram-negative citrate-positive bacilli are normal inhabitants of intestine. They grow well on ordinary media, mouth producing smooth convex colonies 2 to 4 mm in diameter. On McConkey agar, they form pale colonies. They ferment lactose late or not at all. They are indole positive or negative, MR positive, VP negative, urease weak positive, and do not decarboxylate lysine, but most strains decarboxylate ornithine. Cytobacter has three species, that is C. frundi, C. koseri, and C. ammalonaticus. C. frundi gives typical reaction with production of H2S, whereas C. ammalonaticus does not form H2S, hydrogen sulfide gas. Some strains exhibits extensive antigenic sharing with Salmonella and may lead to confusion in diagnostic laboratory. VI antigen of Bhatnagar strains of Cytobacter is serologically identical with the VI antigen of S. typhi and S. paratyphi C. However, these Cytobacter strains can be distinguished from Salmonella by their negative lysine decarboxylase and positive casein reactions. Cytobacter may cause urinary tract, gallbladder, and middle ear infections. C. koseri may occasionally cause neonatal meningitis. Now let's know about Klebsiella. The genus Klebsiella consists of gram-negative capsulated non-sporing non-motile bacilli that grow well on ordinary media, produce pink mucoid colonies on McConkey's agar. They are widely distributed in nature, occurring as commensals in human and animal intestines and also as saprophytes in soil. Now let's know about classification. The classification of Klebsiella has undergone various modifications. They have been classified into two species, namely K. pneumonia and K. oxytoca. K. pneumonia is further subdivided into four subspecies, namely Aerogenes, pneumonia, Ogynia, and Rhinoscleromatis. Unlike other subspecies, K. oxytoca is indole positive. Now let's know about the morphology. These are short, plump, gram-negative capsulated non-motile bacilli. They are about 1 to 2 micrometer into 0.5 into 0.8 micrometer in size. Now let's know about culture. Klebsiella grow well on ordinary media at optimum temperature of 37 degrees centigrade in 18 to 24 hours. On Maconkeys agar, the colonies appear large, mucoid and pink to red in color. Mucoid nature of colonies is due to capsular material produced by the organism. Now let's know about biochemical reactions. They ferment sugars like glucose, lactose, sucrose, mannitol with production of acid and gas. There are urease positive, indole negative, MR negative, BP positive and citrate positive. These reactions are typical of K pneumonia subspecies aerogens. Now let's know about antigenic structure. First is capsular antigen, that is K antigen. On the basis of capsular K antigens, the Klebsiella have been classified into 80 serotypes, 1 to 80 serotypes. Identification of these capsular antigens is usually done by capsular swelling reaction with capsular antiserum. Serotypes 1 to 6 are found most frequently in human respiratory tract infection. Now let's know about second, that is somatic antigen, O antigen. Klebsiella contain 5, that means 0, 1 to 05 different somatic or O antigens in various combination. 4 of these 01, 03, 04 and 05 are identical or closely related to antigen of E. coli. Now let's know about methods of typing. Phase typing, biotyping, bacteriocin typing and registotyping have been tried. Many Klebsiella strains produce bacteriocin known as klebsiella or pneumocin, which show a narrow range of activity on other Klebsiella strain. Kelbocin typing can be done by the help of liquid preparations of bacteriocins. Klebocin typing and capsular serotyping together may be very useful for epidemiological studies. Now let's know about pathogenesis. K. pneumonia subspecies aerogens is the second most populous member next to E. coli of aerobic bacterial flora of intestine of humans. It is responsible for severe bronchopneumonia, urinary tract infections, nosocomial infections, wound infections, septicemia, meningitis, and rarely diarrhea. Klebsiella pneumonia is a serious disease with high case fatality. Positive blood cultures can be obtained in about 25% cells of 25% cases of pneumonia. It is very important pathogen causing nosocomial infections of the lower respiratory tract. Some strains of K. pneumonia isolated from cases of diarrhea produce an enterotoxin similar to heat-stable toxin of E. coli. K. pneumonia subspecies Ogenia has been associated with atrophic rhinitis, a condition known as Ogena K. Pneumonia subspecies Rhinoscleromatis causes a granulomatous disease of nose and pharynx called rhinoscleroma. Now let's know about laboratory diagnosis. Laboratory diagnosis is done by culturing appropriate specimens on blood agar and Maconchy agar. The isolate is identified by colony morphology, gram staining test for motility and biochemical reactions. Now let's know about treatment. Clinical isolates of Klebsiella are resistant to a wide range of antibiotics like ampicillin, amoxicillin, and carbapenicillin. This resistance is due to R. plasmid. Klebsiella are usually sensitive to cephalosporins, trimethoprim, nitrofurantoin, coamoxiclav, and gentamicin. However, plasmin mediated resistance to gentamicin and various cephalosporins have been reported in hospital strains. Now let's know about Enterobacter. Enterobacter is a motile capsulated lactose fermenting bacillus which is indole and MR negative and BP and citrate positive. These characteristics are similar to those of Klebsiella species except motility. Two species are most commonly encountered in clinical specimens: E. cloacae and E. aerogenes. They are widely distributed in water, sewage, soil, and on vegetables. They are also found in human and animal feces. They may cause urinary tract infections and hospital infections. They are occasionally associated with meningitis and septicemia. Aminoglycosides are often effective in the treatment of Enterobacter infections. Now let's know about Hapnia. Hapnia is a motile non-lactose fermenting bacillus which is indole and MR negative and VP and citrate positive. Only one species of this genus is recognized. H. alveoli biochemical reactions are evident best at 22 degrees centigrade instead of 37 degrees centigrade. It is found in human and animal feces, sewage, soil, and water. It is believed to be an opportunistic pathogen and has been recovered from wounds, sputum, abscesses, urine, and blood. Now let's know about Serratia. Serratia is characterized by forming a pink, red, or magenta non-diffusible pigment called prodiginosin. Pigment is formed optimally at room temperature. It is small motile gram-negative bacillus and ferments lactose very slowly. It is a saprophytic found in water, soil, and food. Only one species is of medical importance, S. marcins. Infections due to this species are on increase in recent years, particularly among hospital patients. It can lead to serious non-cosmic infections, particularly in the newborn and debilitated persons. This includes infections of urinary tract, respiratory tract, wound, and meninges. Septicemia, endotoxic shocks, and endocarditis have also been reported. In hospital strains, multiple drug strains is common. Now let's know about Proteus morganilla providentia. The tribe Proteaceae in the family Enterobacteriaceae contains three genera: Proteus morganilla providentia. The single biochemical character phenyl pyruvic acid test distinguishes this tribe from all other members of Enterobacteriaceae. These bacteria are PPA test positive, that is, they contain an enzyme phenylalanine deaminase which convert phenylalanine to phenyl pyruvic acid. Some strains of Proteus morganilla and providentia are widely distributed in nature, such as sewage, soil, decomposing organic matter, feces of humans and animals. Now let's know about the classification. The genus Proteus was previously classified into 5 biotypes, namely PR vulgaris, PR mirabilis, PR morgani, PR means Proteus morgani, PR retegri, retgiri, PR inconstans. Because of high G plus C content of DNA and low level of genetic homology, PR morgani, PR retgeri, and PR inconstans are placed under new genera Morganella and Providencia. PR vulgaris and PR mirabilis, which are very similar in their properties, are included in the genus Proteus. Now let's know about the Proteus. These are motile gram-negative bacilli characterized by swarming growth on agar. They were named Proteus because of their pleomorphic character after the Greek god Proteus, who could assume any shape. Now let's know about the morphology. These are gram-negative bacilli measuring 1 to 3 micrometer into 0.5 micrometer in size. They are non-capsulated, non-sporing, and actively motile. They possess peritrichate flagella. They may present as short cocobacillary forms, long and filamentous type, especially in young cultures. Many strains possess fimbriae. Now let's know about the culture. They are aerobic and facultatively anaerobic. They grow on ordinary media and culture emits a characteristic putrefactive, that is fishy or seminal odor. When grown on nutrient agar or blood agar, PR vulgaris and PR mirabilis exhibit swarming, but it does not occur with Morganella and Providencia species. Swarming of Proteus appears to be due to vigorous motility of the bacteria, although the exact cause is yet not established. Swarming growth presents problem in the diagnostic laboratory when mixed growth is obtained in which Proteus is also present. Several methods have been used to inhibit swarming. These are increasing the concentration of agar in the medium, raising it to 6% instead of 1 to 2% by incorporating of chloral hydrate, that is 1 is to 500, sodium azide, that is 1 is to 500, boric acid, that is 1 is to 1000 in the medium. They form smooth, pale or colorless colonies on McConkey's agar and do not swarm on this medium. This liquid medium, that is peptone water, Proteus produces uniform turbidity with a slight powdery deposit and an ammonical odor. Now let's know about Dine's phenomenon. When two different strains of Proteus species are inoculated at different places of the same culture plate, swarming of the two strains remain separated by a narrow visible furrow. However, in case of two identical strains of Proteus, swarming of two colci without signs of demarcation. It is known as Dine's phenomenon. It has been used to determine the identity or non-identity of different strains of Proteus. Now let's know about biochemical reactions. The distinctive characters of this genus are: first point is deamination of phenylalanine to phenyl pyruvic acid. It is always positive. Second point, hydrolysis of urea by enzyme urease. It is another characteristic of Proteus but is negative in some Providencia strains. They ferment glucose by producing acid and gas. Lactose is not fermented. Indole is formed by PR vulgaris but is negative in PR mirabilis. H2S is produced by PR vulgaris and PR mirabilis. They are MR positive and BP negative. Species of Morganilla and Providentia can be differentiated from Proteus by different biochemical reactions. Now let's know about antigenic structures. The bacilli possess thermostable O, that means somatic, and thermolabile, that is H, flagellar antigens, based upon which several serotypes have been recognized. Well and Felix in 1916 observed that flagellated strains of Proteus bacilli grew on agar as a thin surface film mid resembling mist produce produced by on glass breathing on glass and named this variety as Hodge form from Hodge meaning film of breath. Non-flagellated variant strains grew as isolated colonies without the surface film and were named Ohne Hodge form. That means meaning without film of breath. These names are abbreviated as the H and O forms. Subsequently, the terms H and O were used to refer the flagellar and somatic antigens of other bacilli as well. On the basis of O and H antigens, several serotypes have been recognized within the different species. Well and Felix also noted that certain non-motile strains of vulgaris called either X strains were agglutinated by sera of typhus patients. The sharing of polysaccharide antigens of Proteus with some rickettsia forms the basis of the Well and Felix reaction for the diagnosis of some rickettsial infections. Three non-motile strains of Proteus are employed as antigens for this test, that is PR vulgaris strains OX2, OX8, OX19 and PR mirabilis OXK. Now let's know about pathogenesis. Proteus species are saprophytic and widely distributed in nature. They also occur as commensals in the intestine. They are opportunistic pathogens and may cause many types of infections such as urinary tract infection, in short UTI, pyogenic lesions infection of ear, respiratory tract infection and nosocomial infections, pyelonephritis due to Proteus is particularly toxic as the ammonia produced by organism interferes with complement and other defense mechanisms. PR mirabilis is the predominant and accounts for the most infections in man. Multiple drug resistant strains carrying R plasmids have become very important in nosocomial infections. Now let's know about laboratory diagnosis. First is specimens. Midstream urine samples in UTI. Second is pus in pyogenic lesions. Second, next point is collection. Specimens should be collected in sterile container under all aseptic conditions and transported immediately. Third point is culture. It is cultured on McConkey agar or blood agar with 6% agar to inhibit swarming. Culture media are incubated at 37 degrees centigrade for 18 to 24 hours. NLF colony are seen on McConkey agar. Peptone water is also inoculated. Next point is gram staining. Gram negative bacilli which are non-capsulated and non-sporing. Next point, hanging drop preparation, that is actively motile bacilli are observed. Next point, biochemical reactions. Most important are PPA and urease test. PPA test is positive in all Proteus species. Urease test is also positive in all Proteus species with exception of Providentia, which is negative. Other biochemical reactions can be used to differentiate various species. Next point, agglutination test. Strain may be agglutinated with polyvalent group specific sera with confirm it. Sera to confirm it. Next point is antibiotic susceptibility test. It is important as Proteus bacilli are resistant to many of the common antibiotics. Next point is Morganella. The genus Morganella has one species. M is Morgani. It does not swarm. It causes urinary tract infection and nosocomial wound infections. Next is Providencia. This genus contains three species seen in clinical infections. Providencia alcalifensis is sometimes found in diarrheal stools, though its etiological role is uncertain. Proteus stewart is a common cause of urinary tract infection and of infection in bones. Province Redkerry sometimes causes nosocomial infection of the urinary tract, wounds and burns. Providencia are very resistant, particularly Stuarti, which is also resistant to disinfectants, making it a major pathogen in burn units. Now let's know about laboratory diagnosis of Morganella and Providencia. Laboratory diagnosis of species of these two genera is similar to that of Proteus species. However, this can be differentiated on the basis of different biochemical reactions. Finally, Enterobacteriaceae is finished. Any questions regarding this, you can ask me in the comment box. I will definitely answer the question, and subscribe my channel to know more updates. Thank you. Jai Jagannath.